especially in terms of the best practices with reference to the entrepreneurial aspect. Dr. is over to you. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much.
Dr. Chandi,
Dr. Chandi,
could you please remove your sharing?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. Stop sharing. Okay.
Thank you. So hello, everyone. Nice to see you again, even though virtually. And special thanks, of course, for Dr. Suranga da Silva and for Ampat and the rest of the organizing committee, and of course for the other panelists. I'm going to share about the entrepreneur innovation for sustainable tourism. Yeah, so we experience the tourism industry in Indonesia experience like a hibernation. Yeah, hibernation because of course we have reduction in working hours and then temporary out of work, and some of course lost jobs. So some of the tourism workers, they are who couldn't get the job, so they just need to survive and work in other industry, and hopefully by the time that the industry is back, then they will come back to work there. And for the workers who are able to have other skills, so they can also do something else. Yeah. But for those who don't have that skill, they have to do physical activities. Yeah. So what has been done by the entrepreneur? Yeah. So some of them are already innovative, yeah, creative, innovative, and they also collaborative with the other stakeholders. So what they have done is that they, so for example, for hotels, they provide work from hotel, yeah, the package work from hotel, or some before we can also work from Bali, and now Bali is just open, yeah, of course with the full of the health protocol. And then the hotel were also used for the quarantine, the passenger who came back from abroad, so they can, those who can afford, so they can stay in the hotel for 5 days now. Before it was 8 days. For the tourism industry players, they can offer exclusive tour package service. I just heard my friend was just having a one-night sailing to Thousand Island, because we have this nearby Jakarta, Thousand Island. So they have a one-night sailing using Pinisi boat, yeah, the traditional boat. So they stay there with the only several people, I think only 12 people, and a very good accommodation, and then the food also we can choose, very nice. I hope I can also try that. And for the restaurant, they now offer also the outdoor dining, yeah, in addition to takeaway service, because during the pandemic, 70% of the people, we are using online food service. So for delivery, takeaway, and catering. Yeah, so that's why aside from takeaway service, so we also have outdoor dining. For the, we also have a lot of innovative products which were created by using natural resources, because Indonesia is very rich of herbs and spices, yeah, and also coffee and other plantations. So we have a lot of new variants. Yeah, I'm so glad about that, and I've tried some of the herbs, and it's very healthy. And some of the academics were able to develop the tool to detect corona virus through inhalation, so it can reduce the traveling cost, yeah, because we can use it in the public transportation. And we also have prioritized the Komodo Island, the prioritized tourist destination. One of them is Komodo Island. So now it's becoming a better facility. So by the time that the pandemic is over, we can go there, of course, with the special price, a very good price, because we have to sustain that. Before, it's quite over tourism. Yeah, we have to sustain that place. And we just opened Bali, and during the pandemic, we were able to rearrange many selfie spots, yeah, so that many people we go there, not only domestic but also foreigners. So that's why, since we are already, the facilities are much better, you can come and visit Komodo Island, yeah, and then or Bali, our paradise island, and one more thing, maybe Raja Ampat, our last paradise on earth. Thank you.
Dr. Yankee, thank you so much for your insights. Now I will call upon Professor Dr. Maximiliano. Actually, he's from far away from Sri Lanka, from Argentina. Professor, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks for invitation.
Professor, thank you so much. It's over to you. You can share your insights with reference to the global best practices. So it's over to you, Professor.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, thanks for the invitation and the opportunity to give my address today. I will present a short address about my 4 recently published books, which are Terrorism, Tourism, and the End of Hospitality in the West, Mobility and Globalization After COVID-19, and Mobility is Paradise. In these books, I discuss sociologically that our current travel behavior are changing. So different impositions have been orchestrated to stop the virus dissemination, which included the closure of border, airspace, accompanied by lockdowns or social distancing. Of course, different barriers have been erected to ban the entrance of foreign tourists worldwide. Having said this, I know that his passport, for example, is a new innovative document issued by the states to grant mobility. So there is a radical change in the ways we are moving now. So my speech speak of, in the past, tourists were ambassadors of prosperity, democracy, and so-called civilization. But now, after COVID-19, they are mistreated as undesired guests. Of course, without any doubt, the global world has set the pace to a feudalized one. The second point I want to treat is that the tourism industry has shown a great power of resilience to survive to COVID-19. Of course, resilience has been incorporated to post-disaster tourism studies. Let me clarify that post-disaster studies have adopted resilience from psychology. The term was originally coined by Viktor Frankl, who have been survivor of Nazi concentration camps. The resilience is invariably the capacity of us to overcome adverse situations or situations of extreme pain and disaster. Resilience have pros and cons. For example, we here have some doubts which I want to share with you. For example, to what extent is this pandemic a new phenomenon, or the reaffirmation of an already existing tendency? Because only understanding what and how resilience works, we will understand how we can recover the tourism industry. Of course, tourism has been defined in different ways in the treasure of time. The same applies for resilience. As I have said, Viktor Frankl used the term to denote our capacity to overcome adverse situations. In the field of tourism, scholars have agreed that natural disaster impacts negatively over destination. It is true, but few people travel to insecure places. Whatever the case may be, the multiplication of global risks as terrorism, virus outbreaks, natural disaster have led researchers to assume that disaster cannot be avoided. Instead, the academia should work together to forge more resilient industry destinations. In this way, post-disaster tourism helps accelerating the recovery timeframe in the context of emergency. What does it mean? This means that we have pros and cons at time of applying post-disaster tourism theory. I will start with the pro, or the advantage. Pro-disaster tourism has benefits. For example, thousands of tourists are simply willing to travel to affected zone to understand what has happened. This not only opens the door to human reciprocity, but also this means that we can generate added value from a destruction zone without low investment. Post-disaster tourism offers a good lesson about how to avoid the next disaster. This suggests that post-disaster tourism enhances or generates more resilient destinations. Lastly, post-disaster tourism allows correcting those problems which invariably led to the disaster, some cultural or economic problems. However, at a closer look, we have some limitations with the theory. I will enumerate 3 examples I have worked with in my ethnographies in post-disaster zones. The first one is the indisciplines or the lack of coherence between or among the theories that try to define post-disaster tourism. This means that we have a lot of meanings, a lot of definition revolving around the term. There is a type of conceptual fragmentations where scholars don't agree entirely what does tourism disaster mean. Of course, if you ask me, this is personally avoid or in fact a consolidated methodology and model to understand the phenomenon. We know that post-disaster gives a message to society, of course, about the disaster, but whenever the idea of the disaster becomes a commodity to be sold to tourists all the time, of course, tourists pay for the experience. We are running the risks that the disaster repeats again in the future. Why this happened? This happened because we offer a spectacle of the disaster, right? The foundation toward a new stage of the emergency. To correct this, the government often invests money to give their own version of the disaster. So this is one of the limitations we have. Lastly, and particularly, it is very important, long post-disaster tourism may agitate or revive long-dormant ethnic tensions, simply because the rapid growth of some groups calls attention to the government. When this happens, we have severe documents in this direction. When this happens, the community or society is forced to pay excessive taxes to the central government. If the community which was historically relegated by the government to a situation of poverty or marginalization resists to pay these taxes, of course, conflicts arise. And these conflicts sometimes escalate in violent, extreme situations. So there are the pros and cons of post-disaster tourism, and particularly to the affected zone. That's all. I hope you have enjoyed of my short speech. Hi.
Dear Professor, thank you so much for your insights, and thank you so much for for accepting our invitation from all the way from Argentina.
Okay.
And thank you so much, Professor. And next, I would like to invite Professor Francois Valla, University of Toulouse, France. In fact, Professor Francois is currently at the airport. And while he was in the transit, he'll be able to join with us. Professor Francois, can you hear me, Professor?
Hello. Actually, it is Mohammed Kayal. I'm one of the researchers with Professor Velas. I am actually here to represent him. He is currently at the airport. And I'm actually myself on the road between Abu Dhabi and Dubai, but I couldn't say no to Professor Velas. And I'm connected today with you, and I hope that you can hear me so far well.
Yes, we can hear you, Professor.
Great. So I am Mohammed Kayal again. It is a real pleasure, a real honor to be with you right now. And I would like to apologize again for the conditions based on which I'm actually driving while talking to you. So please accept the apologies. Besides also, of course, the research that that should have been done for today's. However, I would be honored to speak with you about the tourism sector, perhaps, and the climate change for the three countries that are the main countries of my research, or I would limit them for two countries, perhaps, for the duration, which are the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, and West African, the West African region, including Benin, Togo, until Guinea-Bissau. Technically speaking, I am currently in Abu Dhabi in the UAE, and as you may notice, I'm driving from Dubai, which means that I was actually contributing to the domestic tourism myself, because we were in we had 1 day off, which means that I could see myself an increase in the tourism flow coming from the internal UAE itself. That is one of the recovery, I would say, one of the recovery attributes post-COVID itself, post-COVID-19 in the Gulf region mainly, but in the UAE more precisely. We are able to witness a great recovery, I would say, in this region. And I believe that the occupancy rates, at least for the hotel industries, are increasing. If I may just add a few points regarding to the UAE before shifting to the West African region, if I may, of course, I would just add that, as you know, the latest figures were not really positive with regards to the tourism industry in relation with climate change attribute itself. There was a cyclone called Shaheen that have hit the northern Emirates, and Oman, leading, of course, to disastrous results, including loss in human factors. I am myself working currently on a research paper that covers the impact of climate change, including the hurricanes and cyclones, on the tourism itself, with regards also, of course, to policies to be able to be implemented in order to, to avoid such disasters in the future, or to adapt to such disasters, natural disasters, of course. Moving forward, of course, without wanting to monopolize the time, of course, and I apologize if I already did. If I may just say a few words regarding West African case for tourism, I myself have an interest in the West African region, from Nigeria until Guinea-Bissau, and I can see later, I could see, at least in the summer period, a boom in what concerns the tourism sector, in terms of the tourism sector, with many hotels being constructed today and many educational and universities, educational institutions being implemented to train tourists or to tourism services, of course, and experts in this domain. Thank you very much, and of course, this would be great to be debated certainly.
Dr. Mohammed Kayal, thank you so much on behalf of Francisco Valla from France, University of Toulouse. And now I would like to move on Professor Oliver C.J. Su from Tung Yang Catholic University, Taiwan. Professor, actually, I'm pretty much happy to see you after a long time. Would you please, can you hear me, Professor?
Yes, sure.
Professor Oliver?
Can you hear me?
It's over to you, Professor.
It's okay, right? Yeah. Long time no see. Long time no see. So, so is that clear? That everybody can follow me?
Yes, we are clear.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank all my friends here, and also together with some new friends here, because I missed my opportunity to visit Sri Lanka a couple of years ago. Actually, I was planning to visit Sri Lanka this year, but unfortunately, you know, because of the pandemic, it's very possible maybe next year we can meet in Okinawa, in Japan, somewhere in Taiwan, or somewhere in India and Sri Lanka as well. Okay, today, this evening, I would like to share just not a major issue about the sustainable tourism, but it's something to do with the pandemic, our status right now. That is the topic about how about to combine the work and the vacation, because we know that nowadays across countries, people are getting more used to work from home. Surely, I'm not saying all the countries and all the industries. You know, it depends on the country, but also the industry, right? Because of the feature of job. Okay, let me share some information with you. In Germany, that is prior to global pandemic crisis. In Germany, they got a 42 million workforce, but just 11% of them carry out their duties regularly or occasionally from home. It seemed that at that time, employers insist that the staff should commute to work. But nowadays, you know, it's quite different. I learned from some study and also from news, some very trustable news, saying that nowadays in Germany, most of the employees, even though after the pandemic, they would like to change the style they used to work prior to the pandemic. So it's very interesting. Surely the advantage of work from home is very obvious because working from home not only reduces the risk of infection, but also pays off in terms of the emotional balance. That's the reason why many workers, they would like to keep the style of the working from home, because it seems that it's more possible for them to balance their work and life. For this reason, Germany's Federal Minister for Labor and Social Affairs has announced his intention to draft a law that will protect workers who are working from home. So you can see that it's a very clear, the new trend. You know, just like our, you know, previous presentation, our respected presenter said that nowadays tourism industry around the world, they lost a lot. There's serious loss, right? But when we lost something, also that means that something new emerged. Is it possible to think about a new business model, or to change our logic about the product development to meet the need, the new demand derived from working from home? Okay, I would like to share something different, because in Taiwan, the impact of a pandemic on Taiwan is very limited. We have some period of time to working from home, but it's just only 2.5 months, very short time. As I know, many countries are seriously infected by the COVID-19. They're already working from home for over 1.5 years, as I know. Okay, but in Taiwan, the practice of working from home did not prevail for a long time because the impact of the pandemic on Taiwan was limited. According to the survey conducted by an insurance company here in Taiwan, only 50% of employees were reluctant to regularly work from home. It's very interesting, right? It's quite different from that in Germany. Over 60% of respondents who resist to work from home were over the age of 40. That means that older generation, they are not ready for working from home. In addition, those who have kids think home office is not a good idea for workplace. It makes sense, right? Because when you are working with your kids, that can really, make some noise and that make your work environment not quite inconvenient. Okay, how about this? A new idea is to combine work and vacation, which we name it the workcation, work and vacation. Is it possible to make a workcation a new business or a new industry? Because we see from the emerging trend of the working from home, is it possible to create a new model combined work and vacation? Okay, before this idea, the workation come true, we have to extend our idea. Maybe work from home is not enough. It's not, the market is not big enough. How about this? Work from anywhere. Work from anywhere. If we allow the workers to work not only from home, but anywhere, that means it's very possible for a worker or the worker with his or her family to move some other, like resort or tourist attraction, enjoy the vacation out there, but still keep his or her job working quite well. So if we want to realize, this idea and make the market of the workation before we accept, accepting the working from home is not enough. Maybe it's not enough. We need to extend from work from home to work from anywhere. Okay, so emerging form of remote work allow employees to work from home so that worker can choose to live in a preferred, working from anywhere so that worker can choose to live in a preferred geographic location. While traditional work from home programs offer the worker temporal flexibility, work from anywhere programs offer both temporal and geographic flexibility. Work from anywhere should be viewed as a benefit likely to be preferred by workers who would derive the greater utility by moving from their current geographic location to their preferred location. And the first worry about work from anywhere should be low productivity. Is that possible? How about the low productivity? Okay, here I can share something with you. A recent study in the United States found that transition from work from home to work
Professor
from
Oliver, sorry to disturb you, Professor.
Yes.
We'll be able to give you another probably 1 minute, 1.5 minutes maximum.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Yeah, sure. So, working from home, they have some issues to address. Is there no worry about the drop in productivity? Actually, in the United States, a study showed that working from anywhere can result in 4.4% increase in employee output. So here's some issues to address. We need to change in business environments, especially law, insurance, management style, organization structure, and technology. But also the change in tourism industry. That is the new product development logic. Okay, that's all I want to share. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Oliver C.J. Su from Frank Yang Catholic University, Taiwan. And at last, I would like to invite Dr. Fiona Barcus, Lusofona University, Lisbon, Portugal. Dr. Fiona, can you hear me?
Hello, hello.
Yes, doctor, it's over to you.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction, Sampath, and thank you very much to Professor Suranga Silva for inviting me to present at this conference. I very much miss the Sri Lankan hospitality, and I'm glad that you're continuing to do this in a more virtual manner. So thank you for your invitation and your great organization until now. I'll try to keep to time. I'm just going to share a few slides, so just 5 slides to talk about what I would like to share with you today. So it's to do with what a lot of people have been mentioning regarding, this break that the pandemic has given us to be able to stop and think a bit about, what is it we want, what kind of tourism do we want, and also make us think and do research on what makes good tourism and what forms of tourism we actually want for our region and community, because it's not one size that fits all. And as my colleague Professor Huang was also mentioning in a previous panel, the words that we use to describe certain terms are important. And there has been a lot of different types of tourisms evolving during the last few years and becoming, so we say, a trend. For example, we've got creative tourism, ecotourism, justice tourism, and more recently, there's been a move towards a regenerative tourism approach. And these are all alternative types of tourism, alternative tourism. But there is a need to define what alternative tourism is so that we can become, so we say, take over, hopefully at some point, from this concept of mass tourism. And what unites all these types of tourism is a goal to socialize tourism and to use it as a tool for local development and inclusion. So that's one point I wanted to make. Then I'm going to just present a little bit of research that we've been doing as part of Creator, which was a project taking place between 2016 and 2020. And sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm a lecturer at Lusofona University in Lisbon, but I'm also a collaborative researcher at the Center for Social Studies at the University of Coimbra, also in Portugal. And in this context, we have a Creator International group where we're continuing to do research about creative tourism, specifically in small cities and rural areas. And so just to give you, for the people who have not heard of creative tourism before, what is it? It's a type of cultural tourism, but that has 4 important pillars. One is that it includes active participation on the side of the tourists, learning, a type of community engagement, and creative self-expression. And all these are connected by being connected to the place where the activity takes place. So we believe that creative tourism can be perceived as a step towards humanizing travel, as it includes an ethics of care for the locale where it's implemented, and also for the well-being and creative potential of the traveler. So it's kind of a type of a transformative tourism. And we've been, trying to find out more about, like, during the COVID era, what is particularly good about creative tourism. And some of the things you can see here on the screen. So, for example, it could be for small groups, little social bubbles. It takes place in extra metropolitan locales. It promotes longer stays in one place, so people don't just go and then do the activity and leave when we're talking about small cities and rural areas. It is a very good tool for promoting and creating domestic tourism, so to promote tourism within one's country. It encourages sociability, which is something that perhaps, especially the countries which have been under lockdown for, more than a year are missing. It also contributes to personal health and well-being through being an activity which is creative. And also, contributes to local crafts and traditions, revitalizing them and preserving them. So we did a little bit of research, and this is very much, the research was inspired by the observation that a lot of these creative tourism organizations that were in the projects were exhibiting social enterprise characteristics. So they were not operating just for profit, but for creating social value. So as the keynote today, Heidi Dales said, this part of an approach to tourism to create social value is important. So what we wanted to understand how these the collaborative strategies, which is a term which is comes from a concept which comes from social enterprises and social entrepreneurship in general, how these were being used, if they were being used by the creative tourism organizations that we were in the project. So we did a survey to find this out. We found that some of the main challenges which they were facing were a lack of demand. Okay, so obviously the shutdown was causing this lack of demand. They were having difficulties in surviving financially. Then the second one was that they were called to adapt in a very short time. And they found that adjusting to the digital forms was very demanding, and they had to find new work methodologies. And the third one was attracting or re-attracting their target audience. So how do they do that? How do they get their audience to regain confidence and feel secure to participate in creative tourism activities? And of course, a lot of these companies that we were dealing with were startups, and so they were quite vulnerable, to these global economic crisis, which was represented by the pandemic. So they were finding it difficult in terms of starting off and becoming, of course, economically viable as well. So some of the results that we had, these are some of the quotes which people left. So they said that there's a need to rethink ways to reactivate the public and create proactivity with target audiences. They said that one of the challenges was to bring confidence to the people of the territory so they feel they can receive visitors again. And also another challenge was to keep this network going, to keep all partners up to date with the changes and requirements, and to find people ways to get everybody to feel and be safe. And then this is some of the results from the strategies that the collaborative strategies that some of the entrepreneurs were using in order to become resilient, to be resilient to this big crisis, this big shock to the system which the pandemic represented. So as you can see here, they thought that it was extremely important to create new products and services in order to survive. Also, they thought that the development of a platform for increasing networking among different sectors was very important. Yes?
Sorry,
you want me to finish?
You, doctor, can give you another maximum of 1 minute.
Yes. I'm finishing. This is my last slide. Okay. so then, so yes, so they felt that they needed to have a platform. They needed also to apply environmentally sensitive processes and actions, and also plan with agility, which I think everybody has realized now that is important, that we're flexible with the planning. So yes, so this is a little bit of the empirical research that we've been doing, and I thought I would share with you as an example from Portugal. Thank you very much.
Dr. Fiona, thank you so much. And I would like to invite Professor Dr. Suranga Silva just to add a conclusion remark of the open forum of resilient building and entrepreneurial and innovation for sustainable tourism development and lesson learned from global best practices. Professor Suranga, sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ampath. I think we have almost finished our time, and all the panel members, eminent panel members, your great insightful message we have taken very well. Thank you very much. We are looking forward to see you in Sri Lanka in near future. We hope that pandemic will be controlled all over the world. So we miss you this year. Next year we are looking forward to see you, and okay, you are valuable contributor. If you have very special message or write up to send us, okay, please send us. Our student will be developing the policy paper based on your discussions. So if you have more detail, please send us. That would be very valuable for us to continue our contribution with Sri Lanka Tourism. So have a nice day and nice evening, nice morning. And definitely, if there is no issues, we will be seeing you again in Sri Lanka. We will have a good time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor. To conclude the session, I would like to invite Major General Nimal Krishnaratna, the President of the Alumni Association of Tourism Economics and Hospitality Management of the Tourism Study Programs, Department of Economics at University of Colombo.
Thank you, Dirga. Professor Suranga Silva, the chairperson of the conference, Senior Professor Dr. Heidi Della, the keynote speaker today, Senior Professor Dr. Chandrika and Vijayaratna, Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo, Professor Dr. Reverend Vimal Ratnatero. All other valuable speakers, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, on behalf of the organizing committee of the 7th International Tourism Research Conference, Department of Economics, University of Colombo, and also on behalf of the Alumni Association of Tourism, Economics and Hospitality Management, I have the great honor to deliver this declaration note on the closure of these proceedings of the 7th International Tourism Research Conference, which of course go to the history, as this was the first time that we had to conduct all the technical sessions virtually. However, ladies and gentlemen, I feel that the outcome of these sessions, especially with those meaningful statistics, will not become second to any other. First of all, I would like to thank the conference chair, Professor Dr. Suranga Silva, for guiding, directing to conduct this conference in a very professional manner, and co-chair of the conference, Professor Dr. Mubrak Kalaldi, and also the co-secretary, Mr. Sampath Sirivardhana, for making all the coordination with relevant parties and stakeholders for smooth running of the event. My sincere thanks also go to the team for assuring the smooth running of the conference and facilitators who have assisted in facilitating all the working groups, and especially the eminent speakers, the panel chairpersons, panelists, moderators, and presenters from Sri Lanka and foreign countries who contributed useful proposals, ideas, and comments to the conference. Indeed, the success of the conference has clearly indicated that we are building a strong cooperation and a partnership for future activities related to tourism. The international research International Tourism Research Conference and the Alumni Association of Economics Hospitality Management are extremely grateful for active participation of distinguished invitees from Sri Lanka and abroad. We are very honored and very grateful for Vice Chancellor, Professor Chandrika Vijayaratna, who committed her valuable time of a busy schedule to deliver her advisory remarks during the proceedings of the conference. I also take this opportunity to extend our sincere thanks to the keynote speaker today, Senior Professor Dr. Heidi Dalla, for making that very motivational speech, giving ample ideas for young scholars. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, I would like to take this opportunity to evaluate that the conference is well designed with very interesting topics and contents, and it is also organized at the right time, especially when everyone in the tourism sector trying to overcome challenges while drawing attention and action from the national and international operators. Respected invitees, ladies and gentlemen, with the spirit of continuous success, cooperation, and coordination, may I now, on behalf of the organizing committee of the 7th International Tourism Research Conference and Alumni Association of Tourism, Economics and Hospitality Management, University of Colombo, wish you good luck and prosperity on your future endeavors and mission on global sustainable tourism and a safe and happy future. Now, I declare to close this 7th Tourism International Research Conference. Thank you for your participation and attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye-bye. Suranga කොහොමද? Good. මේ පොත ඔක්කොම I'm planning now. Most of the work will be done by me and Dr. Paul Willie. But I will put you as the co-editor. Can you help with the introduction article if I do a structure?
Please,
so
please,
3 of us could write it together.
Please send it to me.
So that's like a snapshot of, yeah, I'll send you an email. And if we can find a day to talk, it'll be good. Not today, you are busy, but another day.
We will discuss later.
Okay, buddy. Thanks.
Tomorrow, Monday, Dr. Chandra, we can do it. Monday.
What time, Suranga?
You send me a text, then we will discuss because,
Okay.
Now other people are waiting for me. Thank
you,
Dr. Chandra. It's a great privilege and honor for your presence here.